And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gents. This is your boy Casanova from Orlando, Florida, on this awesome and international podcast, Good Wine and Great Laughs, the podcast for wine lovers, ladies and gents, summer movies, reviews, and hot topic discussion, ladies and gents. I'm your host, Casanova. Welcome to Casanova. If you are new to my YouTube channel, ladies and gents, every Saturday morning at 10 a.m., I have the wine of the day, ladies and gents. I'm going to open this wine over here, pour it in my glass. I'm going to taste it, drink it, and I'll let you know what I think about this wine, ladies and gents. As well, after that, I will give my rates. And after that, we're going to watch a couple of videos related to the topic of the days. At the end of this video, I always give my 2 cents about what I think about the topic of the day, ladies and gents. And during the summer movies, summer month of June and July, I do summer movies reviews. I take a break on hot topics and then I do summer movies reviews. Any movies that come in the movie theaters and all the platforms such as Netflix, Apple TV, and so forth, they are new for that particular month. I will do a movie review. So if you like the work that I do, ladies and gents, I appreciate if you click on the like button. Please click on the subscribe button and share this video, any video that watch, with at least 5 people you know. I appreciate your support. All right. So today is Saturday, November 1st, 2025, and the weather here in Orlando is going to be generally sunny, highs of 75 degrees and lows of 56. So before I jump on the topic of the day, let's jump on the wine of the day, ladies and gents. There's another wine from Portugal. It's called Da Pipa. Right here. And according to the label, say it's a white wine, ladies and gents. Portuguese white grapes. And then have a little chart right here with some dots. It say color have 3 dots. Fruits, there are 3, and body got 3. It is recommended with salad, pasta, seafood, pork, and chicken. All right. As far as temperature is concerned, if in Celsius, about 8 degrees. In Fahrenheit, it's 46 degrees. That's the recommended temperature for this wine. Alcohol percent of this wine, ladies and gents, is 12%. It doesn't have any other information for the wine itself, just basically basic statistics about the wine here. Once again, Da Pipa, ladies and gents. So let's see what this wine is all about. A little bit more. Ooh la la. It's Saturday. It's the weekend. So might as well let's drink this joint over here. Okie dokie, smoky. I like the bouquet of this wine. Has a nice crispy smell of it. All right, ladies and gents, there's a very little hint of acidity on this wine. Not bad. It's crispy. I do like it. I have a hint of some citrus in the back, some lemon hint on the end of my palate. Ladies and gents, it is a very good wine. I'll give a 9 for this one. I definitely recommend it. And once again, the picture of this wine is going to be available on all my social medias. All right. So let's jump on this topic of the day. And season 11, episode 13 is the food stamp cutoff is coming up on November 1st. Today, ladies and gents. So I will give you question 9. News, the MSNBC. I'm going to play also a video of the TikToker Lime.accordion, and also some statistics I'm going to present today, ladies and gentlemen. It's come from the global statistics. All right, so enough talk, ladies and gentlemen. Let's jump on these videos and this is statistic. I have my wine. I have some Brazilian snack right here. So it is showtime.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Kim Christensen.
And I'm Kyle Clark. Time's running out before the government shutdown hits SNAP food benefits for people in Colorado and across the country.
9 News reporter Angeline McCall joins us. And Angeline, food banks are already preparing to see more people in need.
Right. This pause to SNAP could have lasting impacts on families, especially over the holidays. It's also unclear if the government shutdown ends, say, mid-November. Would those benefits be given out retroactively, or would they totally be unavailable for the entire month of November? The Colorado Department of Human Services say they aren't even sure what could happen.
It's the kind of message people didn't want to get. SNAP benefits are on hold.
We, the support, are also not certain about what's going to end up happening.
Crystal Egley with Food Bank Broomfield Fish says 65% of people who come here receive SNAP.
We have seen lately in recent years that a lot more people are using fish as a primary source of their food and their nutrition.
If the government shutdown doesn't end by this Friday, benefits won't go out on time. That's the preliminary information Weld Food Bank received from Republican Congressman Gabe Evans.
In all honesty, it feels like at this point right now, the plan is that there is not an immediate plan to provide funding for SNAP and other social safety nets.
And when people can't turn to SNAP, the Weld Food Bank says they'll likely turn to pantries instead.
People are being told to come to food banks, but in all honesty, food banks can't bear the weight of what's coming. For every dollar for every meal that a food bank provides, SNAP provides 9 meals.
In Weld County, the SNAP pause will impact roughly 40,000 people.
We really at times are at a loss of what we really can do. The hope is that folks will still come to us because we will still have something to give. It just won't be what we want to give them.
Democratic Congressman Joe Nagu said in a community discussion Tuesday, the statewide impact is even larger.
The potential for 600,000 Coloradans or more to lose their access to SNAP benefits come November 1st is a 5-alarm fire.
Food banks like Broomfield Fish say when the government doesn't have a plan, they're working instead to find one.
We're just trying to plan for all different types of contingencies. And as families, that can be so much more urgent for them as well.
For people who want to help, food banks, of course, would be grateful for any kind of donation, but they say financial donations do go much further simply because they can buy in bulk or at a discount. Broomfield Fish, for instance, has a program called Adopt a Shelf where people can commit to donating monthly. In the studio, Angeline McCall, 9 News.
Today marks 3 weeks into the federal government shutdown. At 21 days, it is now tied for the second longest in U.S. history. 21 days in, and the party's positions have not budged. Democrats want Republicans to help them keep health care costs from rising in return for their votes to pass a budget. Republicans say they're not going to negotiate over that. Longest shutdown ever remains the one during President Trump's first term, 35 days, when Democrats refused to fund Trump's border wall. This time around is that standoff over enhanced health care subsidies. This comes as the number of uninsured children in Colorado is rising.
9 News reporter Janelle Finch joins us now with some resources for parents. Janelle, clinics are helping more people who are seeking care with less.
Every Child Pediatrics says they put about $1 million into uncompensated care for kids without insurance. They're now investing even more as demands increase. A cry can signal a number of needs, but for whatever the reason behind these wails,
oh, I love the babies.
Dr. Laura Luzetti answers.
We say that sometimes. We're like, can you imagine there are people who go to work and there's no babies there?
She's the executive director at Every Child Pediatrics. She says the clinic serves more than 24,000 patients across Colorado.
Most of our patients are low income.
Dr. Luzetti says 8 to 9% of those patients each month are uninsured, and that rate has doubled in recent months.
We have seen over the past year and a half a drastic increase in the number of kids who don't have health insurance.
It's not just Every Child Pediatrics. The U.S. Census found Colorado's uninsured population under 19 went up 1.9% from 2023 to 2024. Luzetti says her staff doesn't stop at supporting a child's physical needs.
Yes, that's Ariana.
Care navigator Ariana Strudwick goes further to help families.
Housing, resources, clothing, school advocacy, applying for CCAB, child care, SNAP.
Strudwick says social and emotional imbalances can trickle down.
We can help with this additional service outside of the healthcare that we provide. So making it a little bit easier for families who just have a lot on their plate.
She says her team's work is more in demand.
We have a whole village for ECP.
And while there may be an increase in cries around her clinic, Luzetti says no tears will be shed over lack of care.
We believe all kids deserve access to quality care regardless of their family circumstances.
Every Child Pediatrics also has dentists and dietitians to see kids. It helps accommodate single working parents who may not be able to take multiple days off for multiple appointments. Again, this is all at no cost to the patients in need. Janelle Finch, 9 News.
Millions of low-income Americans will lose access to SNAP food aid benefits on November 1st, cutting off their only means of affording staples like milk or vegetables.
Fear, just fear, like I don't know how I'm gonna feed my kids.
To last all the way for the next month, even to cover December, it won't. We will be starving.
What am I gonna do is what I thought, and it's not really fair to a single mothers trying to feed our kid and trying to get by to get better.
Look beyond yourselves. Look beyond the fight. There's real Americans that are struggling out here.
Joining us now is Sandy Sweat, Executive Director of Harrison Food Bank in Harrison, Maine. The bank serves Western Maine residents in need of food assistance. Thank you so much, Director Sweat, for joining us. You know, we talk about SNAP, we say food aid, but to be really clear for the viewers, this is about Americans, people who live in this country who cannot afford food because of the way that our government has not given raises to folks around the country in years. The minimum wage is still terrible. Making sure that they can eat. And so I guess I want you to kind of give folks the idea of, are you seeing an increase in folks who are coming for food as this continues to drag on? And what does it mean for folks who have to ask for help? Because Americans want the American dream. They want to be able to afford everything on their own.
Absolutely. This is not a third world country we're talking about. This is the United States. And this crisis started before now. We've been cut off from food. We've been lowered the amount of government food that we do get. Maine is very rural, and those people are really suffering. We don't have, services on every street corner. We don't have food or transportation, a lot of these people. And as soon as they announced that they were going to they weren't going to get the November SNAP benefits, my phone started ringing. Within a half an hour, it started ringing, and people are scared. I've had people from 2 hours away call me, can I go to your food bank? And then, like you say, I've also had people say, I'm so embarrassed. And I'm like, please don't. This is why we do this. We have 50 volunteers, and they work very hard to keep food out there, balanced food. You look in our boxes, and you can make balanced meals from our boxes. And this is so important. I need the food. I need the finances to be able to keep food for these people. And not only that, but let me point out, this is one of the biggest holidays in November for families to get together. Thanksgiving. Everybody gets together. Traditionally, I've always given Thanksgiving food to cook. I've given turkeys, chickens, potatoes, squash, onions, vegetables, stuffing, cranberry sauce. I mean, we're going to be hard hit this year. Last year, it cost me $12,000. It's going to be much worse this year.
Director Sweat, what would you say to the leaders here in Washington? President Trump, House Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune. If you had a chance to sit down with one of them or all three of them, what message would you deliver to them?
I think you ought to walk in my shoes. You ought to come and see. Go deliver to food with me and see some of the older people or the families with children that wait to see what's in their boxes. That would be an eye-opener for you. And we can't cut off food. This is the United States. You can't do it. There are so many people that depend on that food. Here in Maine, we have a lot of rural areas, and the jobs are really difficult up here, especially, we depend on tourism, and in the winter, it's tough. We have cold winters. It's difficult as it is to put heat, heat the house, have transportation, and do all the things that you need to do. And then when you start cutting off food, that's really difficult. Our older people, we have the most per capita of anybody in the country. They need that food. The children, growing minds and bodies, they need that food. This is something we really need to focus on, is getting the help for the food banks right now so that they pass out the food to these people.
And Director Sweat, I think that sometimes we have entered this new era in our society, like that I like to call the GoFundMe era, where we think that when a public good can't be supported or executed by the government, that there are these big public campaigns to try to crowdsource to support people. But when you look at something like the White House now and President Trump raising $250–300 million to build a ballroom, what do you think that the public, very wealthy companies, corporate executives, all who are donating to this endeavor can be doing to support the citizens and the kind of people that you're working with on a daily basis?
Well, I think the timing is very wrong, maybe for that ballroom. And I've heard just yesterday when I went to the post office, I had two women talk to me, and they said, Sandy, what's going on with the food? And do you understand that they're building this big ballroom and you need food? And I'm like, exactly. We need to figure this problem out. This is priority right now. And, am I worried about how I'm going to do it next month? Absolutely. I think they're going to be lined up right down the street. And it really worries me. When I start to lose sleep, worrying how I'm going to feed people, it's not good.
Sandy Sweat, thank you so much for coming on the weekend, and good luck to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I hope that we can end this crisis soon. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I certainly hope so.
We'll keep having the conversations. Thank you. We're joined now at the table by April Goggins, a furloughed federal worker and president of the National Treasury Employees Union, Chapter 250. April, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I have kind of two questions. One, how are you doing? You've been furloughed since October 1st. And two, what we have seen for years, really, when it comes to the Trump administration and Republicans kind of writ large, is the dehumanization of federal workers, right? They've called you guys the deep state since 2016 and before. And when I was asking myself yesterday when I was prepping for the show, I was like, where's the outrage, right? We're in the 25th day of this, and the American people don't seem concerned. And before, I feel like they would have been. What does that dehumanization do when you hear that from the federal government and the president himself?
Yeah, well, first question, how am I? I think this is probably the first time that I've sat with, like, how am I?
Yeah.
Listening to the guests before, I'm really sad.
Yeah.
Not only, not for myself first, but, like, especially for the families that we work with. I think about my neighborhood. I think about the elderly folks in my neighborhood, and I live in Southeast DC, so SNAP is huge.
Yeah.
And for me, yeah, no paycheck yesterday. That's real. That is real. But makes me sad. But I think there's so much internalized outrage that you don't always see it outside, right? Like, you can have a protest, which I am a huge proponent of, but then we go back home.
Yeah.
And there just has been. I mean, a lot of people are calling this like the shutdown now, but like, we've been in a showdown for 9 months, right? Like, we have been trying to, they have been trying to get rid of us for that long, right? So there's just this sense of like every day growing, just anger among federal workers. Yes, because the general public, I don't think, understands what we do, right? We're all workers. We work to live, right? Like, we went and we interviewed and we got a job, just like they did.
And you work for different administrations.
Absolutely. We all work in different places, but we're workers. We're part of the working class of the United States. And the dehumanization, it runs really deep. One, because people don't necessarily, like I said, know what we do. So we do get that. If I was a deep state, I wouldn't be getting furloughed, first of all.
Correct.
And if I was the deep state, I would probably, my friends wouldn't be getting furloughed. But what we are is just workers like everybody else. And it's not just DC, right? We're learning now about what's happening in rural America, right? And we're learning that, like, all of these things are connected. When people lose SNAP, they don't eat. And it's not because they don't know how to work. It's not because they're living off the system. We live in a system that is already not affordable, right? And so I listen to them talk about how hard it is to ask for help. Yes. And it's because we're placed in this moment where somehow we are, as federal employees, different than everybody else, right? We get the rap, but we're not getting paid. We missed paychecks yesterday. Congress got paid yesterday, right? And I think it's important to be able to hold both of those things.
Ms. Goggins, you're furloughed because of this shutdown.
Absolutely.
And I'm just wondering, Democrats blame Republicans. Republicans blame Democrats. From your vantage point and from your friends and coworkers' vantage points, who's at fault?
The billionaires. I think this is not actually about the budget because they've been cutting that. They've been targeting that. I think this is about how the government workforce only makes up 4% of the government's budget every year. So when we're looking at who's to blame, it's the same people that have always been to blame because, it doesn't actually matter who is in Congress. It's about what they do and don't do, right? There are attacks on federal workers, on our working protections at the same time that now for our livelihood. And so I'm stuck between being really angry at the long-term time that it took for us to get here, for people to start thinking about it. But then I'm also like, somebody has to hold the line because what happens is when we go back, it still won't be the same. They have gutted our programs. They have, like you said, dehumanized employees. What are we going back to, right? It's broken. And so at some point, someone has to stop the bleeding. But I'm a firm believer that you can hold more than one truth at a time. Yeah, we need to get paid. And being out here, I think people don't necessarily understand. We can't do GoFundMes. It is against the law. We can't go get another job. That is against the law. And so there's no unemployment. You got to pay that back. You can go get food stamps. You got to pay that back. Most people don't understand that it's not just a matter of not getting a paycheck. It's not being able to get a paycheck and then not being able to get the things that you need in the meantime.
Damn, man. Jesus have mercy. That's all I'm going to say right now.
Because as it is, my Social Security is very minimal. I'm afraid that I won't be able to afford those so-called lower grocery prices that he promised. I'm afraid for others. I am afraid for the children. I am afraid for seniors who are older than me. He's the president. He's supposed to be in it for the good of the people, not for him and his oligarchs.
Hi there, everyone. It's now 5 o'clock in New York. It is a rather devastating indictment and snapshot of life in Donald Trump's America as the government shutdown and Donald Trump's policies put additional financial pressure on Americans already stretched too thin. And for those who voted for Trump, promised lower costing groceries, among other things. The USDA has announced that come Saturday, the 42 million Americans who rely on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, it's often referred to as SNAP, will be forced to go without benefits that'll run out. Trump's USDA writes in a statement this, quote, "The well has run dry." It comes after Trump cut approximately $500 million in aid for food banks earlier this year, and is not the only way that life is about to get a lot more difficult for a lot more Americans. The government shutdown and Americans out of work over the Republicans' refusal to extend Obamacare subsidies. The Washington Post is reporting that people are going to see their premiums go up 30%. The Post writes this, quote, "The higher premiums, along with the likely expiration of pandemic-era subsidies, mean millions of people will see their health insurance payments double or even triple in 2026. And if that isn't enough already, these additional financial pressures come as the New York Times reports that almost everything is about to get more expensive as companies finally start passing along the costs of Donald Trump's tariffs to the American consumer. Amid the growing hunger and affordability crisis in America, blue state governors are expressing outrage over Donald Trump's lack of action.
We are fast-tracking an $80 million investment. We're front-loading it to get them to food banks. I'm very worried about 5 million people in a matter of days losing food stamp, losing their SNAP benefits, and entering in a grocery store with Donald Trump's tariffs and inflation.
They're paying contractors to tear down the East Wing, but they're not putting money into the food bank that they're setting on. So if there's a sense of frustration in America, it's very real. They are choosing not to fund these programs. They are choosing to prioritize. And when the White House press secretary said the top priority is the ballroom, we could not disagree more. Our top priority is the well-being of the Minnesotans, especially around food security.
To Governor Walz's point about priorities, that $300 million that Donald Trump is spending on making a gold ballroom where the East Wing once stood, and the $230 million he's trying to get us, the American taxpayers, to reimburse him for being under criminal investigation, they add up to roughly the same amount of money he has cut from America's food banks. It's where we start the hour. Some of our favorite experts and friends. David Frum is back. He's a staff writer at The Atlantic, host of the video podcast, The David Frum Show. Also joining us, MSNBC political analyst, host of the Bulwark podcast, Tim Miller's here. And joining me at the table, Princeton University professor, MSNBC political analyst, Eddie Glad. Eddie, it's a deeply disturbing portrait of America right now. The images of Donald Trump destroying with an actual, wrecking ball, the actual East Wing of the White House, while Americans are about to go without food stamps, is a snapshot of America that'll live forever. Mm-hmm. It is awful when anyone in America goes hungry, and it is a choice. It's Donald Trump's choice. Do you think that we are at a fever snapping moment, or do you see this moment on a continuum?
It varies. I think, first of all, you're absolutely right that it's a choice. Some days I see it as a kind of inflection point. Other days I see it as a continuum. We've always talked about this tension within the Trump kind of coalition between the Elon Musk wing and the Steve Bannon wing. Mm-hmm. And when he was having his little tiff with Musk, we were like, who's going to win out? But this is the Bannon side. This is the populist side. The fact that people who are going to have difficulty putting food on the table, folk who have the view that billionaires have overtaken or overrun the government, they are going to see Trump in relation to that kind of complaint, it seems to me. So I think this is an inflection point within his coalition. But we have made the choice consistently to be the richest country in the history of the world to have some of our citizens not eat.
Tim, we were just talking about Steve Bannon with John Carl, who has a great new book out. And there's an anecdote about his influence ahead of the meeting with Zelensky. But I think if you look at the policy debacle, his influence is nowhere to be seen in the flagrant extravagance of the crypto corruption, the flagrant extravagance of the gold-leafed Oval Office, the flagrant extravagance of a Russian-style ballroom, the herding, he used to call them the MAGAs, the MAGAs who are on Medicaid, I think he's talked about on his podcast. I mean, he's going about 04-10 if you look at all the policies that'll hurt the parts of the coalition he used to publicly speak out for. Who is disinterested? Or I guess, is this all Donald Trump? I mean, what is your theory about how we got to this point right now?
My theory about how we got to this point right now is that Donald Trump is responsive to anybody that will suck up to him. And in the second term, the richest, most powerful people in the country have decided that they're going to suck up to him in the way that they didn't the first time. And so you can see this in foreign policy or in domestic policy. And so when you have Bannon, for all of my complaints about him, or of anybody's complaints about him, like he was the one who was saying this year during the tax bill that they should include a tax on the tax increase on the richest Americans. He was advocating for that publicly and privately, as best I could tell. They didn't do that. The MAGA movement, I'll add one element to your list, was talking in 2016 about draining the swamp and going after these special interests in D.C. A lot of that was always smoke and mirrors, but it's particularly so this time. When you look at this ballroom, who is funding it? It's the most entrenched interests in Washington. It's the military-industrial complex. It's the big tech CEOs, right? It's the big companies. All of these companies that were not going to donate to Donald Trump after January 6th, not going to donate to any Republicans after January 6th, have now all bent the knee. And what is revealed is that Donald Trump wasn't actually interested in fighting the status quo, wasn't actually interested in fighting for the forgotten man. What he was interested in was like respect for himself. It was a Rodney Dangerfield thing. And now that all the richest people in the world have said, okay, yes, sir, Mr. President, sir, I'm going to bring you this trophy like Tim Cook did, he no longer is interested in fighting them. And so, I do think that's a real, obviously, change away from kind of the pure id of what we saw from MAGA in 2016.
David, from food insecurity it's a weird thing. It's wrapped up in probably the only crisis maybe a person could endure with more shame interbreeded or interconnected is some sort of domestic abuse. But food insecurity is people with cars and jobs who can't afford food for their families. And so they show up at food banks. Sometimes if shame is a hurdle, a food bank will open early or late to let a family come in and shop off the shelves. Food banks are a bridge sometimes to keep families through job insecurity, maybe not someone totally out of work, but not with steady jobs. Sometimes military families show up at food banks, especially when their salaries don't come through. Food insecurity in America is a lot more common than anybody can imagine, and it knows no party affiliation. It does not care who you voted for. And the fact that Trump and all the Republicans in Congress are opting into this tragedy, this sort of shameful thing in America in 2025 should be front page news all over the place. What is your sense of the degree of numbness in our country right now?
I don't think Americans are numb. There's a hostage taking going on, and the hostages certainly pay attention to it. I'm speaking to you from Toronto. I flew here via Dulles Airport. On my way out of Dulles Airport, I got into conversation with the person who was checking what the computer and shampoo in my carry-on bag, and he talked to me about his feeling, about his fear that his salary would be stopped and that he and his family would be under pressure. Now, I assume we're paying much more than living wage to that kind of skilled worker, but he's worried. Everyone's worried. The tens of millions of people are worried. And here's why the worries will only intensify. In the 30 years since in the past 30 plus years, there have been major shutdowns in 1994, 2013, one over the winter of 2018, 2019, and now this one. This is now the second longest, on its way to being probably in the end the longest. In all those previous cases, the shutdowns were about many, many different issues. They were tests of strength. Who's more popular? They often happen quite close to a recent election. And there's a test of strength. Who's got the upper hand? But there's always kind of an exit ramp. So in 1994, when Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton faced off, the exit ramp was Medicare. Basically the Republicans climbed down, Bill Clinton got a win, exit ramp. In 2018, 2019, the exit ramp was Donald Trump's demand for a border wall, $5 billion for a border wall. He eventually dropped that demand, exit ramp. Where's the exit ramp now? Yes, this fight is about the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, but there's a bigger problem, which is what this fight really, I think, is about is the Constitution awards Congress power over taxing and spending. And Donald Trump has challenged that power in a very fundamental way. He is taxing without Congress, $30+ billion a month in tariff revenue, and he is spending without Congress. Mm-hmm. He is getting other forms of revenue than taxes. The reason the White House ballroom story is so important, it's not just the vandalism of an historical monument. It's not just the gaudy bad taste of this ballroom. It's that it is being funded not by taxes, but by gifts from people who have business before the government. So he's bypassing Congress as a source of revenue, and he's bypassing Congress's control of spending, and he's claiming the authority to refuse to spend money that Congress has appropriated and that he signed. So how do you do business with someone like that who says, okay, we need to make a deal, but I just want you to understand before we sit down to this deal, whatever deal we agree, it doesn't bind me, it only binds you. How do you do business with that person?
Lord have mercy, man.
Millions of Americans are nervous about losing critical food assistance in just 1 week after the Trump administration said it would not be using emergency funds to pay for federal food benefits. With at least 25 states planning to cut off benefits to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program amid the ongoing shutdown, families are scrambling for alternatives.
It's finding ways to make ends meet. Grateful for any sort of assistance programs. We're on WIC for my daughter, who's 13 months old, to get her formula and food. I'm showing up to food banks when I can. We're applying to jobs constantly. Our unemployment just ran out, so now we have no income coming in.
This is my first time visiting a food bank in my entire life. I've never had the need to do so in the past, but times change, and I'm in a moment or in a place where this is where I'm at.
Joining me now is Gina Platonino, Interim Director for SNAP at the Food Research and Action Center. That is a nonprofit where she addresses food insecurity. You must be a little bit stressed out these days, I gotta say, because you have millions of people facing the daunting possibility, Gina, of losing SNAP benefits because of the government shutdown. So what are the major concerns you're hearing from families?
Yeah, and I just want to clarify that even with the government shutdown, this doesn't have to happen because Congress has given USDA the authority to issue funding so that millions of people don't have to go without food. And so we're hearing many individuals saying, can I pay my rent? Majority of people on SNAP make less than $1,000 a month. Their landlord's not going to say, oh, you didn't get SNAP this month, and so you don't have food to feed your children. You don't have to pay your mortgage, or you don't have to pay your rent. It is incredibly conflicting and challenging time for families at the same time where everything is more expensive.
So give me a sense of the kinds of households that typically rely on the SNAP program, and then walk us through what comes next once these benefits are put on hold, which could happen a week from today.
Yeah, so we have majority of people on SNAP are children, right? Followed by people who are older adults, and then follow with people with disabilities. It's people who are veterans. It's people, youth aging out of foster care. The main reasons that people are in SNAP are threefold: is I lost my job, as you saw in your previous clip, my wages have been reduced, or I have a family member to take care of. Most people are in SNAP either 6 months to 24 months, but it's all depending on the economy. So what does it look like moving forward? Benefits in November will be delayed unless the Secretary of Agriculture uses reserve funding to move forward. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, because states have to send these files, right? The files of the amount of people that need those services. Those files are sent to a vendor. That vendor then tells USDA the amount of money. USDA then sends it to that vendor. The process, it takes a long time. So at this point, USDA was very aware that it had until yesterday to ensure that everything moved forward so that benefits would not be delayed. So in a base case scenario, that the secretary changes her mind and issues funding, say Monday or Tuesday, we are going to see a delay in benefits. But it is important for individuals to know that if the secretary changes her mind and issues those fundings, or if Congress reopens, people will get their benefits. It will just be more complicated. The last thing I think it's important for people to know is that retailers are also impacted by this. So I'm talking about the small retailers, the mom and pops.
Are there no backup funds for a program that millions of Americans rely on?
There is. It's called contingency funding that Congress has instituted. It's public. It's in the pub. They also have Section 32 fund, which is the same authority that they utilize to be able to fund WIC as well. And they also have credit corporation funding, which is what they utilize with commodities.
So we have the Senate Republicans. They're discussing voting on a bill to prevent this loss of food aid before next Saturday's deadline. Is that all it takes? One Senate vote to keep Americans from going hungry?
It's even more simple than that. It really does take the secretary to do the same thing that they did with WIC, saying, hey, we're going to change one pocket of funding and we're going to put it here. And it takes less time than having to go through Congress and utilizing what money, where would it come from?
Wow. So you have data from the Department of Agriculture, and it shows 1 in 8 Americans relies on SNAP. And a headline in Axios reads, Colorado food banks face crisis as SNAP expires. So, I mean, how are the food banks preparing to fill the void if SNAP is suspended?
Food banks are superheroes. They have been working extra hours since they haven't recovered. Our economy has gotten worse since the beginning of this year. And so there are more people on SNAP and more people who are needing to go to food pantries. Food pantries were created as an emergency mechanism, but for most families now it's become a way of life.
So, Gina, we have the holidays right around the corner. What can families do to try to help supplement the absence of SNAP? You've got some families that have been told apparently to buy shelf-stable foods. Okay, but what other advice and resources are available to them?
Again, the people who are on SNAP is because they have such limited income. They're paying 70 to 80% of their wages on rent, have very little. And so this is put them in a lack of choice. Do I pay my rent? Do I pay my medicine? Do I pay my car insurance? All of these things. And they're just not going to have food, right? Like children will get their food at breakfast and lunch at school, and they will come home and wonder why mommy or daddy are not eating. And so like to tell someone this is what they can do, they're putting the responsibility on individuals who already have falling on hard times versus putting it on people who have the power and the authority to literally distribute those funds so that we don't have to be in this situation. As you said, during the holidays, which is one of the busiest shopping seasons for retailers, and ensuring that people get the food that they need.
Something that you said, one vote in the Senate could switch all this. Gina Platonino, thank you very much for the conversation and bringing the reality of the situation to us.
And ladies and gents, before I give my 2 cents, I gotta come to my TikTok account, and I found this lady right here, and her account is lime.accordion, and I like the work that she does because what she's doing right now, if you never heard of her, I never heard until went through my TikTok and I found her. And she's doing a great job because what she's doing, she's calling some representative or Republicans representative of different states. On this particular video that I'm going to play, she called the representative being here from Florida about on SNAP. Check this out.
Congressman Aaron Bean, how can I help you today?
Hi, I'm wondering why Congressman Aaron Bean thinks it's acceptable to voluntarily starve people to death to try to, like, as a political bargaining chip. Why does he think that's acceptable behavior? Which version of the Bible told him that that was acceptable behavior?
The congressman doesn't find that acceptable. In fact, that's why he voted for the continuing resolution to keep the government.
Well, then why are they voluntarily not using the USDA lapse of funding plan that allows SNAP to be paid for even during a shutdown? Because I know they're BS lies that this is somehow the Democrats' fault, that they don't know how to negotiate. They don't know that if you need more votes, what you have to do is negotiate to get more votes. It's third grade logic. They don't seem to understand that. So even if they're going to blame Democrats for the government shutdown, which is, again, I don't know how it's offensive that he thinks we're that stupid to believe that. But even if that's the case, there's an emergency fund for this very situation that they're voluntarily choosing not to use. They'd rather us starve. It's absolutely disgusting. So why isn't he using that?
Well, that is this fund at the U.S. Department of Agriculture that the president would have to tap into.
Okay, so why aren't they calling out the fact that the president's letting people starve instead? Why are they blaming Democrats that the president won't use the emergency fund to prevent people from starving to death?
All right, ma'am, we don't need to use the language. You and I can have a perfectly civilized conversation.
I'm not civil with fascists. You know what's so embarrassing is that you're more offended by my language than the fact that you're working for a regime that's going to starve Americans to death. How are you not embarrassed?
Well, ma'am, I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Much like my other colleagues, I'm an unpaid federal employee at the moment, so I understand.
Yeah, that's even more embarrassing, by the way, that you're working for free for a fascist regime. But go ahead, have a conversation. Feed me your lies.
I'm trying to answer your question, so
okay. Go ahead, answer. Go ahead and answer why Mr. Bean has not called out the fact that the president has an emergency fund. He found a way during the shutdown to give another country $40 billion of our dollars, but we have a fund that's laid out to prevent people from starving during a shutdown, and he's not using it, and Mr. Bean has said nothing. He's blamed Democrats for that.
Well, the Democrats are the ones not voting to open the government, and I think that's his point.
Hey, so let me...
Of course, sorry, go ahead.
If you want A and somebody else wants B, and you need that person to agree with you in order to get what you want, then what do? Do you say it's their fault for not caving to your, by the way, the plan to take people's health care away instead, to kill them by curable illness instead, to raise the cost of their health care by $16,000 a year, which is the plan that they want to pass? Or do you negotiate? Because that's literally what we hired. You're interrupting. How are we going to have a conversation if you don't let me talk? Their job is literally to negotiate. What's the offer on the table? Go ahead, tell me.
The offer on the table is a clean continuing resolution that was written by Chuck Schumer back in 2023. They voted on it 13 times over the last 3 years. That's all they're asking for 7 weeks.
You're trying to tell me it didn't change in March?
I'm sorry?
You're trying to tell me it didn't change in March? I'm not dumb.
It's the same bill. It's the same funding bill. It's 7-week extension on actually Biden-era funding to keep the government open so the appropriations process.
Except the big, beautiful bill took away some of that funding. So things are not getting funded the same as they have.
That's a separate thing.
Except it affects it. You can't act like those are both in a vacuum. You can't act like those are both in a vacuum. That's insane to pretend that they don't affect each other. They're both funding bills. They both affect how we're funded. So you're saying it's the same, but the big, beautiful bill took away a bunch of funding. So they're not the same because things will not be funded the same today as they were in 2023. Are you dumb or do you take me for an idiot?
It would be.
Except it wouldn't because the big beautiful bill changed the funding.
It's the
Okay, so in 2023,
resolution sets the funding level.
in 2023 there were
That's the way it works.
in 2023 there were ACA subsidies. Does this continuing resolution contain ACA subsidies?
Yeah, ACA subsidies don't go away.
Are you
ACA subsidies that were passed in the law in 2010 are
that
permanent.
expire at the end of the year?
They stay the same. What expires at the end of the year?
No, we're not talking about 2010. We're not talking about 2010. We're talking about 2023. You brought up 2023, and in 2023.
Difference if you give me 30 seconds.
All right, I'm counting. Go.
Okay. Thank you. So in 2010, when the Affordable Care Act passed, there was something called the premium tax credit that was put into place. That was to help families who are making at poverty level, below poverty level, and about 100% above poverty level to get a subsidy directly to them to help pay for their premium. Great. In 2021,
You've used 20 seconds, by the way.
Inflation Reduction Act, the Democratic Party, with control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, extended those and expanded them to reach people who were 400% above the poverty level, and that tax credit went directly to the insurance company instead of directly to the patient.
Okay.
That is what will expire at the end of this year. So
Correct. And we'll raise our
2010 law.
Right, and the 2010 numbers do not cover, first of all, so let me point out that your lie, that we're funded the same as we were in 2023, that's false. You just pointed out that it's false, that it won't include the same subsidies that existed.
It will not. I never said it would.
You said it was the same funding as 2023. You absolutely said it would. And so anyways, to be clear,
the funding levels for the government will be the same as the last time this passed in 2023.
and that will not include the subsidies that were present in 2023. And therefore, millions of Americans' health insurance is going to go up by 16 grand, give or take.
So the numbers indicate that the enhanced premium tax credit that is set to expire accounts for 3% of the increase.
So why do you think 3% of why do you think
company raising the rate?
So why do you think 3% of Americans should die of curable illness?
I don't think 3% of Americans.
Well, then why are you okay with them losing their health care?
We're not okay with them losing the health care. That is why.
Well, you just said the bill that they wanted to pass. No, we passed the continuing resolution in March with the understanding that between March and September, we were going to figure out how to get those ACA tax subsidies or ACA subsidies under order.
That was never brought up on the table by Chuck Schumer or anybody.
They've never discussed subsidies?
That was never part of the conversation. So I don't know who's telling you that, but that was never part of the conversation in March. And March was simply to keep the government open, as was the vote at the beginning of this month was to keep the government open.
Regardless, I'm here watching you twist facts in real time. You just said everything's going to be funded the same way it was since 2023, and then we just discussed how it was not. The Democrats are not willing to pass a bill without those subsidies. And guess what? They need Democrat votes. And so they need to negotiate. That's literally their job, to negotiate when they don't have the votes, which, by the way, is bullshit that they even have to do. They can open the government today without a single Democratic vote, and you know that, and so do I. So to blame it on the Democrats...
You need 60 votes in the Senate.
Try Googling, quote, nuclear option, end quote. I'm not dumb. Stop taking me for an idiot. I know they can.
I mean, if you want to use the nuclear option, just that opens the door to a whole bunch of craziness if you want to do that.
Not because we don't have craziness right now. The president just knocked down the White House with not a Republican speaking out. Don't tell me we might open the door to craziness with the nuclear option. This fucking administration is doing whatever the fuck they want without a single Republican getting some balls and standing up. And now they're giving Democrats the option between letting people starve to death or letting people lose their health care, and then whining that it's someone else's fault. When again, not a single soul has called out the president for not using the emergency fund that is in place for this exact situation. So shame on you for working for this. How do you sleep at night? You're working for a disgusting fascist regime that is trying to kill Americans. You're absolutely shameful. I hope you don't think you're getting a job after this regime falls. This is going to live on your resume forever and bring shame on you forever. Your kids are going to change their names so they don't have to be associated with you. You're a poop stain on our history. Have a terrible day. Maybe sleep on it and stop betraying your country, you fucking traitor.
Ladies and gents, that's the last thing I'm going to show before I give you my 2 cents. This is from the global statistic. Okay? You talk about it because you're going to see a lot of people that are going to hard, but I want you guys to pay attention to this chart right here. Okay? Because for years, all the Republicans and a bunch of some white people believe that, black people and minorities are the moochies of the SNAP program. And you see right here, you can look at this chart right here. It says the key welfare statistics. This is for the fiscal year of 2023 and 2024. And show right here that SNAP wide participant in the fiscal year of 2023 was 35 to 37% of all recipients. And now black people and the other Hispanics are the lowest numbers. Second was 26, even though 13% of our population, 16 are Hispanic, Asian 3 to 4.4, Native American 2%, and race unknown 16 to 17% of people that receive the SNAP, aka food stamps. All right? All right, ladies and gents, as you watch with me all this video and these statistics, I know kudos to this lady from the Lime.accordion TikTok account. Follow her. She's great. She's great. And we need more white people like her. Because unfortunately, I will tell you like it is. All right? There's a whole lot of white people because they are the majority of the country. Okay? They believed on the BS of the Republican Party because they say, the minority, the black people, the minority, they are the problem. They try to throw poor white people against the minority. So that's why I see all these mega people mad as hell, because this SNAP is a bunch of malicious people. Now, I do agree that there are some improvements that need to be done on this SNAP program, because when the hell started breaking loose, right, on this administration, they talk about cutting. I saw a couple of TikTok videos. That's this white lady that was complaining about it. They're going to change it. And she say, I cannot afford my BMW. So if you drive a BMW and you depend because you have about 7, 8, 10 kids, whatever, she got a number of kids that was just complaining about it. Now, that's the problem. To me, I believe that, first of all, the people that need food stamps are the people that really, really struggle. That's the safety nets. So there's some adjustments that need to be done, in my personal opinion. Now, moving forward with that, I believe the United States is wealthy enough to provide some relief to all citizens. Because at the end of the day, they're doing all this cut for the 1% of our population. And the good thing about it that is going on in this country right now is going to see a lot of people that thought voting for Trump is going to just take care of the black people and the minority, but now they're suffering. And the difference between black people and minorities, because through history in this country and different parts of the world where black people has been brought as slaves, black people has the DNA of how to survive. So whatever they throw on us as black people and people of color, you're going to make a meal of chitlins if you have to, but you know how to survive. And the difference is because the white people, poor white people, they do not. That's why you see all this desperation right now. There's a bunch, don't have to listen to me. Believe there's a bunch of TikTok videos of all these white people, poor white people, and a lot of people that's going to be hit hard is going to be all these red states. And the red states had the majority of poor white people. They're the ones that suffer right now. They're the ones going crazy. And like I say, I just personally, my personal finance, I got to cut some stuff there, but I'll be okay. Because I carry the DNA of survivors. For over 400 years, my ancestors, the DNA that has been passed to me, and I pass it to my kids, because you're going to find a way to survive. So meanwhile, they are the ones that are getting desperate right now. And the sad part about it, and when everything's said and done, they're still going to have some of them, and some Latino for Trump that want to be white, some black people for Trump that want to be white. You know, they still, with everything that's going on, they're still going to find a way to not see that the Trump and the Republicans don't care about them. And they're going to support regardless, even though they're struggling right now. You know, that's one thing to say right here. One of the MSNBC report that they say the Republicans say their well runs dry. No, it does. It's about the purpose why they don't. Because believe me, the Republicans are going to refund any type of way to find their money. They gave $40 billion for Argentinians, but they cannot release the funds to SNAP for feed the American people. They don't have the funds for education. They don't have the funds for hospitals. They don't have the funds to agree to not increase the health care costs for Americans. That's why you're in the shutdown right now. But they have no money to illegally tear up the west side of the White House to build his gold ballroom. So the lines in the food bank are getting longer and longer. I sympathize with the federal workers. I sympathize with some people. But at the end of the day, how many federal workers vote for Trump? How many people there are now in the line of food banks and desperate that vote for Trump? Once again, I'm going to say, did I agree with everything that Biden did? No, that's sort of thing that I think could be better. But one thing about Biden is a man of decency. And there's a man of compassion. Donald Trump and his administrations don't care about none of that. They bamboozle you. They use you, asking the Cubans for Trump, all being deported. A lot of them. They're going to hit Trump did, and he's going to say whatever to get where he is now. Because right now, I'm in the position, he's laughing all the way to the bank, and now he's the president. He can do whatever, and a bunch of cowards, no balls Republicans is going to kowtow for Trump and let him do. But like I said before on my previous video that I talk about the protest, No King's Protest Day, if it was Biden doing that, or if it was Obama doing half of what Trump is doing, tear up the west side of the White House, oh my God, Fox News would be crazy. Don't forget, there are, I think Obama first administration, when he showed up the press conference on the 10 suits, they lost their mind because that was unpresidential, right? So it is sad. It's sickening. It's sickening that he can't sign the funds to release funds for SNAP so people do not starve. Regardless of that point, no, to me it's a lesson learned. But I don't think they're going to learn that lesson. But I also don't want to see children and some families suffering and don't have food on the table. I don't want to see that. But it has to take that level for you to finally wake up. Now, I do give kudos of, I forgot his name, but you can Google it. It's a UFC fight. He's from Arkansas, white young dude, probably his studies right now, that he was the hardcore Trump supporter. You know, there's some videos at Tennessee Brando, I believe. It's a YouTube channel. The guy that he said he showed his video. The guy finally woke up and to see the bullshit that Trump administration is all about. He finally saw the light. And that's why we need more, because we as a black people, we are tired to convert white people. We are, because the reality is we try to tell you, but you do not listen. So it's kudos to this UFC fighter, and it's kudos to this lady from the TikTok account, the Lime Accordion, that she's doing a great job. And once again, I applaud her during the video, and I give kudos to her to call out the bullshit how it is. So that's what it has to be more, because I'm telling you right now, once Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, all these red states, Kentucky, West Virginia, now they're going to see if the life was hard before, you know, and like I said, to me, the function of government is to make the citizens' lives better, because the main precious thing that a nation can have, it is its own people. If you invest on your people, your all across the board without prejudice, you got no reservations. Your people, regardless of the religion, sexual orientation, whatever, invest in the people, the nation, you succeed. But once you focus on only 1% of the population to get more money in their pockets, that's when hell we're going to break loose. And I'm telling you right now, I'm thinking about just the French Revolution, because of the bougie people, the bourgeois, get all the money. It gets to the point that the people's going to be fed up. And when the people get really, really fed up, they rise. When they rise, hell break loose until they eliminate all the bougie people that is make all the money. So that's a message to all the Republicans. For you that call yourself a Christian, you already have a discussion about that. They use the Bible. Look, I can't stand this Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, because he's a fake. Truly, the truth is, he's a gay dude in the closet, because has the grinder. Every time they have a Republican convention, they grind the site, app, or whatever, go crazy. Use the Bible to say that he's a man of God, that his life is an open Bible, and meanwhile, child people and people are dying, people are starving, and all this hell is breaking loose in this country. So I'm just here, relax, and it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse, and I hope the people that vote for Trump finally wake up. Because now that you're hungry, and when people get hungry, people get desperate. And when people get desperate, it's not a good sign. It is not. All right, ladies and gents, so that's the episode of the day. Now go ahead and check the MSNBC. Once again, kudos to 9 News, MSNBC, the TikTok alignment accordion, and the global statistics for all the information that I present to you guys. If you like this video, ladies and gents, if you like the work that I do, please do me a favor. Click on the like button right now. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and share this video with at least 5 people that you know. All right? I appreciate your support. So be safe. Please be safe, be kind, and be blessed. And do the best what you can do with what you got. Salute. And I see you next Saturday with another awesome podcast episode discussion. Holla!